Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
I don't know what you were about to say.
Oh
dear, you're chuckling.
Well, Chris, we're about to get a shift on.
Ah!
We're going to be joining the modern era.
Okay, cool.
And reading a 13th Doctor story.
Cool. Which one?
We're going to go with The Good Doctor by Juno Dawson.
Cool. Yeah, so it is a book of which I know pretty much nothing.
I hear there's an Orville episode very similar to it. That's all I know.
Cool. Should be interesting.
Get your custard creams ready.
Happy reading.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
Chris, happy August.
Yes! Hi Matt, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Yes, August is here, and at least at the moment we have nice weather to distract people in the UK from what's going on. Oh dear.
That's right, you have a new Prime Minister over there.
Yes! Yeah.
Among other things.
We do. And we have a book about overthrowing regimes. Yes, which might be topical.
We do. This month we're reading The Good Doctor by Juno Dawson.
Yeah.
Last month I was talking about and hyping up Convergence a little bit, and it lived up to expectations. Close to 5,800 people joined us in the new location, and some of the highlights for me included panels on Netflix's She-Ra series, a Choose Your Own Adventure panel. I got to meet Peter David, noted Star Trek author.
Oh, wow.
We didn't talk about Vendetta or Imzadi or his New Frontier line, but I did get in a question about the Star Trek young adult line of all things, and Worf's first adventure, which he wrote. And the new downtown space worked really well. I just feel really optimistic about the future of the convention. And one of the things that Convergence is known for is having a really elaborate movie room called Cinema Rex, where they haul in something like 50 or 60 different couches that are kept in storage all year. And it's just a really cool kind of living room experience with a giant screen. And they still have couches, and they dragged them up to the 5th floor of the hotel, so I don't know how they did that, but they doubled their space and capacity, so that was pretty amazing to see. Erica and Steven from the Lazy Doctor Who podcast, among other podcasts, were at Tavern, and they both have sand that I collected from Southern Down Beach.
Cool.
As well now, so I've been continuing to hand that out, and met a few different listeners. I got to meet 2 different Felicities that had both guest starred on the original version of the podcast. Felicity hosts the Flopcast podcast, so it was really great to connect with her, and special thanks to listener David, who came up to me and said how much he enjoys the show.
Cool, very good.
Anything new or exciting in your neck of the woods?
I did something very Doctor Who related yesterday. In fact, can we segue into show and tell now?
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So yesterday I did the Doctor Who escape hunt, which is called Worlds Collide. So it's an escape room, which is the very first escape room I've ever done.
Really?
Yes.
And is this an official?
This is official Doctor Who. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
very cool.
I'm not going to go into anything particularly spoilery, but there are some familiar elements. So might make an argument that there's not possibly enough, because it feels like kind of 2 rooms with a little smattering of Doctor Who elements in there. You do start off with watching a video from a billionaire who's kind of got into trouble with doing research trying to crack time travel. and the video feels very RTD.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's good though. I mean, we nearly completed the whole thing, apart from the fact that there was just one puzzle that I was having difficulty kind of cracking. I don't know how escape rooms normally operate, but there was a games master who was outside the room who would occasionally come in with some hints over loudspeakers. So she, I think on a couple of occasions, helped us out a little bit when we were kind of pretty much there, but the puzzle that we were stuck on was a physical puzzle that there was no way that she could actually, it was kind of getting a ball out from something, and we were having to kind of move around these various pieces, and I was just thinking, because I was the person that was doing it, I was like, oh great, it's all on me, we can't be helped by the lovely lady from outside. And we're going to end up getting locked in. Excellent. Yeah, that was frustrating. But it was
very cool.
Yeah, very cool indeed. And we saw the new Sonic as well. Because they have the new Sonic screwdriver, or the new series Sonic screwdriver.
I've got that right here.
Yes.
The new Sonic escape rooms. I've done 3 of them. Console Room for several years had a Doctor Who themed, like an unofficial escape room, but that was more of like a mini adventure and very, kind of homemade, and not a full hour in length. It was more like 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
But I have done 2, like, I guess you'd say real escape rooms, both unofficial Harry Potter one that very much had a similar task where you had to use Quidditch brooms to get a ball out of a thing, kind of using like a makeshift like a mini maze sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I did one from a company called Puzzleworks in Minneapolis that was based on a bank vault, which was really cool, where really elaborate, and had like 3 hidden rooms within this one room, which are totally not obvious, and then different parts start unlocking, and it just really kind of blew me away. So I haven't done a lot of them, but I'm definitely a big fan.
Yeah.
They're kind of fun.
This had 2 rooms, which I was kind of glad, because like the first room you go into, it's kind of like an office type, like a small study, and I was kind of thinking, I hope this is not just it. But yeah, it was good though. As I say, maybe it could have done with a little bit more Doctor Who elements to it, but it was fun.
Well, hopefully they'll come out with a new one, and
yeah, hopefully so. But the thing that I found quite surprising is, because as I say, it's the first one I've ever done one of these, and it was in this building where there was, I think, about 7 or 8 different rooms, different escape rooms, all happening at the same time, and like they were by no means all Doctor Who either, so which I found quite interesting. But I mean, I guess like quite a few of the people were quite young, and teenagers and kids, as well as a kind of like a hen do. It was quite a wide crowd. However, none of them were really interacting apart from when they were like waiting around the reception for their escape room to open up. But yeah, it was odd.
That kind of describes my experiences too, in terms of like the differences in the crowds and the rooms, and very cool.
Right, so that's enough gabbling from me. I'm just trying to avoid spoilers, because it comes like, do not spoil the secret.
That's very good escape room etiquette to
not
talk about the reveals and stuff. So yeah,
no, indeed,
or the puzzles.
Yes. Right, so what do you have for Show and Tell?
So for Show and Tell this month, I'm going to talk about a recent piece of Doctor Who merchandise I got. It is a little, like, 3-inch pating from San Diego Comic-Con, from the latest series of Doctor Who. I thought it would be appropriate. So I didn't attend San Diego Comic-Con, but if you hop onto eBay, usually the Thursday afternoon of the convention, you'll see a lot of people selling San Diego Comic-Con exclusive merchandise. And usually that first Thursday, you can get things without too much of a markup on it. So unfortunately, it's a Funko Pop, which I'm not a Funko Pop fan, and if I went down that rabbit hole, it would be like a complete, money sinkhole. I only have 3 Funko Pops. This one, and all 3 of mine don't look like the soulless Funko Pops. I've been to Forbidden Planet a few times in London, and I'm kind of dismayed that their entire first floor was taken over by Funko merchandise. It's you walk in and you see all these cubes, and it's like the Power of 3 all over again.
Yeah, Is it Shaftesbury Avenue one? The one in the West End?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not so much Funko Poppy, but then again, it has been about 3 or 4 months since I was last in there. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but the 3 Funkos I have are none of them look like the Funko characters. I have this Pating one, Alpha 5 from Power Rangers, and a weird Tom Servo Crow hybrid from MST3K. That was a Kickstarter surprise exclusive that I'm probably going to sell at some point because it's kind of ugly. But yeah, so that's my show and tell for this month. I have a little Pating sitting on my desk staring at me, so it's a cute little piece of Doctor Who merchandise.
Cool. Lovely stuff.
So this month we are reading The Good Doctor by Juno Dawson.
Yes.
It's our 30th episode and our first ever 13th Doctor pick. Do we want to maybe talk about Juno a little bit?
Yeah, let's.
So Juno Dawson is a British author who resides in Brighton, and she's written a lot of young adult fiction and nonfiction, including the books Hollow Pike, Say My Name, Margot and Me, The Gender Games, Meat Market, Proud, and the nonfiction guide This Book is Gay, which has the distinction of trying to be censored and banned in Wasilla, Alaska, home of Sarah Palin. So
that's why I know the name of Wasilla. Yeah, so she's in very good company.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if you've annoyed Sarah Palin
Same.
or Sarah Palin's people, you're probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And this is her first Doctor Who novel. And in 2015, Juno came out as transgender and wrote a column in Glamour magazine documenting her experience of transitioning. And I think it's kind of rather fitting that the first 13th Doctor novel is written by a transgender author, just as the character herself has underwent a gender transition. So she also represents the LGBT charity Stonewall as a school role model, and she won the Queen of Teen Award, which was awarded to prominent young adult fiction writers.
Yeah, all very good stuff.
Have you heard of her at all before?
No, I must say I hadn't. No, I hadn't. But also, I'm quite pleased that the Doctor Who books are now reaching out to kind of like new authors. Quite often for Doctor Who books, for the modern series, yeah, a lot of the authors are quite familiar. So it's always nice to sort of see a new name. Yeah. Had you heard of her before?
I had not, no. Speaking of familiar names, this book was edited by Stephen Cole.
Yes. Yeah, because he seems to have taken over the editing of the Doctor Who books, I think.
Mm-hmm. Editor of the range once again.
Yes, indeed. The Once and Future King. Yeah.
The back cover of the book contains a kind of a minor spoiler. The premise of this book is about returning to the same location that the Doctor once visited hundreds or thousands of years later, and that kind of reminds me a little bit of both the William Hartnell story, The Ark, and the Ninth Doctor story, The Long Game.
And also The Face of Evil as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it reminds me more of the Ark, but we'll go into that as we as we go through. But yeah.
And the book has 27 chapters and an epilogue. The chapters are a bit on the shorter side, and I'd say this novel has kind of a unique length. It feels shorter than some of the other Doctor Who books we've read, and there are quite a few kind of blank pages throughout, one between each chapter, and I'd say the length is probably more similar to maybe 1.5 Target novelizations back in the day.
So I was reading on the Kindle, so I wasn't seeing all of the blank pages. But I know what you mean about length. It didn't feel short. It also didn't feel long. It just felt book, if you see what I mean.
And the book is dedicated to Stuart, who told Juno that this was all possible.
Ah, cool. Good on you, Stuart. Right, shall we begin?
Let's start.
Yeah, so we start off on the planet Lobos in a place called Kanda City, which is a beautiful city, which has now been ruined by a war between human colonists and the native inhabitants of Lobos, which are these dog-type creatures known as the Loba. And Lobos is described as being somewhat Mediterranean-like, specifically like Crete. which was where I was last month. Which is found it quite bizarre. To the point where you hear about there's various tavernas that get mentioned, and so it's quite a sort of like an arid climate, and sort of with kind of heat. We also find out at one point that Ryan went on a kind of like a lads' weekend to the Greek islands. So you're like, yeah, best not ask too many questions. But
we also find out that Ryan takes nude selfies in the shower, and that's how he lost a few of his older phones.
Somehow I missed that detail. Oh dear. Oh, well.
Yeah, he gets kind of embarrassed, but it felt very like Juno has her pulse on the youth of today. So
yes. So
we're
yeah. Dear. Yeah. So the story starts with General Oryx, who's one of the Loba, being driven around in a tank hunting for rebels. And she hears a voice that's seemingly that of her son, who's been fighting for the opposition. And so she leaves her tank and she sees him along with a rebel leader and what we realise is the Doctor and Graham. And the Doctor berates the General for the mess that's kind of been created. So is this, round about here is where we have our reading, isn't it?
Yep. This is where our dramatic reading comes in for the month, and this is a short clip from the BBC Books audio narration of this story. It's read by Claire Corbett, and she does a really good 13th Doctor impression. And this is available on Audio CD, Audible, Apple iBooks, and other specialty shops and online stores. So let's have a listen.
With a hiss, the hatch unlocked. Oryx twisted the handle and swung the door open. The air was gritty and dusty, tinged with acrid smoke and gunpowder. She pulled her scarf over her snout and mouth. From the drain, she saw Arvi emerge, holding his flag. It took everything she had not to cry out and run to him. She'd long since thought him dead. There he was, alive. As Arvi crawled out into the rubble, he was followed by a human woman. She had yellow head fur and wore a long grey coat. She didn't look like a soldier at all. Her trousers finished halfway up her legs, for one thing. She too stumbled onto the plaza, her arms aloft in surrender. Behind her came an elderly human male and a face she recognised well. Alex Blaine, the resistance leader. Faintly, she heard snipers ready their weapons. Her soldiers had them entirely covered on all sides. "I said hold your fire, or I will have your pelts!" she yelled. She would not risk her only son, not now that she had this second chance. How? How was this possible? Oryx slid over the front of the tank and dropped down in the debris. She established that Blaine didn't appear to be holding a gun, but that meant nothing. He'd killed many, many Loba in his time. "Mother?" Arvi began. Oryx said nothing because she didn't trust herself not to cry, and that would be unforgivable in front of her troops. Her cub was fully grown now, taller than her. They were still unmistakably mother and cub, however. Same eyes, same thick, shaggy chestnut fur. "Mother, I—" Suddenly, the human woman interrupted him, stepping between them. Up close, she was slight, impish. "I'm sorry, but would you look at the state of this?" She twirled around, waving her arms at the ruins. "Look at all this mess." As she spun closer, Oryx drew her gun. "Stay where you are. Freeze!" "But look at all this mess," the woman said again, her eyes wide. Oryx wondered if maybe she was intoxicated. "I won't warn you again." "Look at it!" This time, it was a demand. The human woman, somehow, was now almost nose to nose with her. "What do you mean?" "Just what I said. Look at the mess." She snorted. For the first time, Oryx looked at her feet. Scattered around her gleaming boots was all sorts of junk from the old marketplace. The woman, with yellow fur, squatted down for a split second and bounced back up holding a chipped mug. "Look." Oryx sighed. She didn't have time for this. "It's a cup. It's a blue cup. I see that. Probably it belonged to someone, don't you think?" She pointed at the ruins. "From one of those homes, I should think. I wonder if it was someone's favourite mug. I wonder if every morning, without fail, they wake up and make a lovely cup of tea in their favourite blue mug. I can't start the day without a cup of tea in my favourite mug. Can you?" "What?" "I like Yorkshire tea the best. What about you?"
And that was the dramatic reading for the month.
Mm-hmm.
And just as a reminder, you can listen to the audio version if you like, on Audible or Apple iBooks and other places. So yeah, kind of a cool moment there where the Doctor appears and confronts the tank, and that really felt very modern series, kind of Series 11 to me, that scene, where you have the Doctor yelling at everyone to and getting them to kind of see that, to give peace a chance, sort of.
Yeah. Given that Juno hadn't actually had chance to watch much of the series, I think all that the authors for the batch of books that came out last year had been able to see was Jodie's first episode. I think she's got a good grasp of the characters, particularly the Doctor. But anyway, we'll go into that more as we go through. But you do sometimes, if you have an author that's with a brand new Doctor, sometimes it doesn't quite match up. But here, certainly for me, it rang true. Yeah, so we've had the Doctor emphasising all of the evils of war, particularly given that the Loba general's son has fallen in love with a human. So Yaz and Ryan, they're up in a radio tower, and they cause this speech to be broadcast all over the planet, urging kind of like peace and compromise. And whilst this seems to work, so the radio tower starts kind of tilting in the wind, causing Yaz and Ryan to flee. And Ryan leaves behind his mobile phone, which is going to be very crucial as things continue.
Yeah, a lot of the infrastructure in the city that they're in is kind of haphazard and was built by the human colonists and wasn't built to last. So you've got a lot of decay going on, both in the kind of starting out in the time that they're starting, and then when they jump ahead to the future, it becomes even more derelict. Mm-hmm. So with peace talks wrapping up, the TARDIS crew bids farewell, and once they're taking off in the TARDIS, Ryan realizes he's left his phone behind, and so they head back to the planet. Ryan and the Doctor emerge, and they say, it's only going to be a few minutes, but they realize after they leave that they aren't anywhere near the radio tower. And in the distance, they see a giant blue building, one that looks like a tribute to the TARDIS. And that kind of reminded me of the giant TARDIS in Trenzalore that we saw with the 11th Doctor kind of off in the distance. But this is like, more of an actual building. Yaz and Graham are in the TARDIS, and Yaz notices that they've both been gone for a while, so they leave together to investigate. And they realize that the TARDIS had set down in the wrong part of Lobos. And then Yaz is spotted by a hostile drone, which are known as Eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of based on the one that they had used earlier to broadcast the signal, but it's covered in spikes. Yeah. And is very menacing. And that kind of reminded me a little bit of the Toclafane from the 10th Doctor's
it is
one of his finales.
It is interesting because it's specifically said to be an Urbankan one, so basically it's from Four to Doomsday. It's the kind of the drones that you see from that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the technology. I don't remember in Four to Doomsday like the TARDIS crew borrowing one of the Urbankan security floaty ball things. Maybe they do.
I didn't catch that reference to the 5th Doctor story. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a deep cut.
I really liked the opening and the first segment set as the war's going on. I like when we join them kind of mid-adventure where they've obviously experienced a lot of things on this planet already. And Juno does a really good job of conveying a lot of information in just a few short paragraphs in terms of world building. And I also like that they mentioned Laika, which is the dog that was shot into space by Russians or by the Soviet Union back in the 1950s or early 60s. It's funny that we have yet another fate for that dog. Because I think we read another book where something else happened to it.
Yes, I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
And that dog has as many fates as Atlantis does now.
Yes, yeah.
The drone interrogates Yaz, tells Yaz that a human female must be accompanied at night by a husband or father, and Graham is hiding around the corner, and so Yaz tries to run back to the TARDIS, but she's shot with this, it's kind of like a stun ray by the drone, and then she collapses.
Meanwhile, the Doctor and Ryan are kind of nearing the TARDIS-like giant building, and they realise it's 10 stories tall, and it's got candles flickering in it. And as they near it, they see statues of men in long cloaks, and also an inscription of Tordos, Tortos.
I wonder what Clayton Hickman would think of the windows.
Yes. Graham overhears two guards talking about holy laws that Yaz has broken, and he thinks that they're monks, but he doesn't remember having seen any monks earlier on. And these guards load Yaz's body up onto a buggy, so he follows them through this place called Newtown, and he realises that the war damage has been very quickly cleaned up, and the buggy goes through this harbour gate, and Graham tries to follow it, but he's challenged by one of the eye drones, which then identifies him as the Good Doctor, surprisingly. And over in the Tordos type thing, Ryan and the Doctor first find a sign saying women must worship separately, and then they find a stained glass image of Graham, and then a drone appears that again insists that women worship apart. And then the Doctor sort of says that, well, she's not exactly human, and so she changes genders, so she'll stay where she is, thank you very much. And so the drone then says that humans are living embodiments of the Good Doctor's holy design. And more drones appear, which decide that the Tordos temple has been defiled, and so they start firing red laser beams at the Doctor.
There's some really great proper classic Doctor Who cliffhangers in this, like the one at the end of this chapter where the Doctor's being surrounded by these sentry drones and kind of contorting in pain from their red laser beams, and you can just imagine like John Pertwee or Tom Baker doing that.
Yeah.
With bad special effects, or not as modern special effects.
Yeah, you're right. It does feel like a six-parter. Like, it has more of a classic series structure, I would say, than possibly kind of like a modern one. But yeah, not a bad thing.
Not at all. So then the Doctor is in pain from these, but more drones appear accompanied by Graham, and he gets them to stop shooting at the Doctor. And both Graham and the Doctor realize that the local culture are worshipping the Doctor, but in a very confused way, where they're thinking that Graham is the good Doctor, and the Doctor herself isn't really mentioned. And then we meet a priest called Mykatos, who says that the only surviving representation of the Doctor following a great inferno was an image, or a partial image, of Graham and the rest of the TARDIS crew that had posed for a snapshot during the peace talks, but only the portion of the photo with Graham in it survived. Mykatos is ignoring the Doctor and focusing on Graham, and is full of excitement that he's appeared on the eve of St. Rasmund's Day, which is a amalgamation of Ryan and Yaz's names. And the Doctor kind of gets Graham to play along when she remarks that the drones, known as Eyes, are her fault because she had left the previous Urbankan drone and didn't collect it at the end of their last adventure. So they're realizing that they've jumped forward in time probably 500 or 600 years. And then Mykatos, the priest, his assistant, says that women are full of sin and not to be trusted. Graham tries to get them to change that, by issuing like a holy edict on the spot. And then he, because he can't refer to the Doctor as the Doctor, he starts calling her the nurse. And then the nurse insists that Yaz be freed, and that was kind of a funny scene where
Yeah.
the doctor's really not happy about being called a nurse.
No. And you have echoes of this in the Witchfinders, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
The episode from Jodie's TV series, or first season, which Graham is mistaken to be in charge. Yeah, because I'm not quite sure when in the season this book is set. Yeah, I don't think there's any specific kind of...
Yeah, I would almost put it after Demons of the Punjab, but only because Yaz makes a reference to her grandparents and her grandfather not being around, but that could have just as easily, been taken from like the series Bible or whatever,
Yeah.
for the characters. But there really isn't they don't make references to like the Kerblam episode or
No.
like the Rosa Parks episode. It's
Yeah.
They make references to several adventures, but none of the ones we've seen on television.
Yes, curiously enough. And one of them features unicorns on a moon or something, isn't it? Possibly sounds more interesting than at least one of the episodes we did actually have. Anyway, so Yaz wakes up in a filthy prison cell that she's sharing with two Loba, and one of them doesn't believe that she's from off-world because the spaceport has been shut off for a century. And Yaz asks what happened to the truce that was kind of like agreed just before they left. And it turns out that apparently there was no truce, and brave General Oryx has been forgotten. And the main Loba that she's speaking to, called Sea Dog Bob, says that he's in jail for being out without his master, and if his master can't be found, he'll be executed. Meanwhile, the rest of the TARDIS crew are in a convoy of carts heading from the Tordos temple. And Ryan is in a cart with Tempika, who's one of the guards who picked up Yaz. Tempika is somewhat in awe of being near St. Razmin. Ryan, meanwhile, is just trying to kind of wonder what on earth's going on, what's happened to the Loba. And then the Doctor realises that the TARDIS has been moved.
So then Mykados gets his acolyte minions to search through the different eyes or the drone's database as to what's happened to the TARDIS to see if they can figure out who moved it or what happened to it. And then Yaz is in the cell still, and she's kind of given this dog food as food, but she's maintaining that she's optimistic that she'll be released, and you get a little bit of her backstory in terms of her being a police officer and being able to judge society by the types of jail cells they have and how they treat prisoners. And Sea Dog Bob doubts that Yaz will ever be released, but mentions that there are rebels opposed to the temple and how the religion is being enforced that are hiding out in the mines. And then she also hears about Tromos, who's in a nearby cell and was turned into a kind of a super guard dog by temple humans. So he's a soldier who's been augmented with drugs and other surgeries to kind of be like a super soldier, but he's gone insane by all of the tinkering and the effects of the chemicals on his brain. And then suddenly there's like a jailbreak happening, and Yaz tries to rescue Tromos from his cell, but he grabs her through the bars by the throat and starts choking her, and she's about to lose consciousness.
So Sea Dog Bob stuns Tromos, and the human rebel gives Yaz a gas mask as they make their way into the sewers. The rest of the TARDIS crew, who were kind of travelling on those carts, hear the klaxons and stop by the prison. Mykados, who's regarding Yaz as like an archangel, says that they'll try and find her. We also learn that in the breakout there was a rebel leader who'd escaped, who'd been accidentally picked up. And the rebel leader is called Pry, and it's made pretty clear that this is Sea Dog Bob. And Graham tells Mykados not to kind of like violently hunt down Yaz on the night of the Feast of St. Razmin. And the Doctor also says that perhaps they ought to start preparing some kind of sermon.
Then the next day at the feast, the Doctor tries to figure out with Mykados how the current legal system and the belief system had come about. And apparently it all comes down to Graham making a reference to Aloba as a man's best friend as they were departing, which made them believe that Lobas should serve humanity. So it's not based on Ryan's cell phone at all.
No, you kind of think, yeah, no, Graham could accidentally cause all of this. It does kind of, there are some good character moments for Graham, or little bits where you kind of like, yeah, no, that's what he would do. Like at one point we learn that that wherever they are in the world, when it's 5 o'clock, he starts watching an episode of Pointless, which is a UK quiz show, and of course because the actor that plays Graham is very well known to UK audiences for his own game show career. It's kind of like a nice little double nudge, or double nod to the audience. But
they do almost like they break the fourth wall, where when they're looking at the picture of Graham in the stained glass window, I think the doctor says, "Well, it's either you, Graham, or that game show host off the telly."
Yes, well, it could be both,
or both. There's also a kind of a fun, as they're talking about the traditions and stuff here, there's a great quote from the doctor where she says, "Tradition for tradition's sake is one of my least favorite things in the whole world, worse than olives." And then Graham says, "What's wrong with olives?" And then the doctor says, "We don't have time to go into what's wrong with them right now, Graham. We'd be here for weeks."
Yeah, and she raises the topic of olives again. And I love olives. And I was just like, I don't understand. What is the issue with olives? So, like, we never find out.
Maybe it's like pears.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, I'm just glad she doesn't start talking about sort of like hummus, because like I can put up with changing my Doctor Who. People slacking off olives and other Mediterranean food. It's like, no. Anyway.
So when Mikado says the rebels are trying to destroy the good doctor and the civilization they built to Graham, and while they're having that conversation, the doctor sneaks off and learns from Aloba that about 100, I think it was around 100 years or so after they had left, there was apparently a great plague that was unleashed by the good doctor when Loba and humans started intermarrying, which is why the temple came about. So they put the plague on the interspecies marrying between Lobos and humans.
So meanwhile, Yaz and Pry, who we'd previously known as Sea Dog Bob, along with a human called Mariah, who we realise Pry is sort of like effectively married to, have emerged into mine tunnels where they meet Pry and Mariah's daughter, Jaya. As they're kind of like preparing to heal some of Yaz's wounds from the escape, Yaz notices that the rebels have captured a TARDIS. Back in the temple, Tempika, who was the guard that was travelling with Ryan, tells him that he's got a contact in the rebels and knows that they have Yaz. So the two of them head off to meet the spy, which came as a surprise to me, that little scene. I was like, oh, okay, we're going off in an unexpected direction.
Yeah.
Feels like sometimes in like some of the classic series things, rebels and the people that they're rebelling against do sometimes seem to be able just to kind of contact each other or know where each other are. It all gets a little bit cosy, kind of like particularly, I'm thinking like in Third Doctor stories. So it always felt like it was kind of like it was either a callback to that or just going into the same kind of like old trap. Because there were some times for this book where I was a little nervous. I was kind of thinking, okay, we've been very good so far. Are we about to kind of go into sort of like bad cliche land? But anyways, all right, I shall leave you to decide later as to what extent we go into bad cliche land. Anyway.
So at this point then, the rebels challenge Yaz, and she learns that it must have been about 6 centuries since she was last on Lobos, similar to the conclusion that the Doctor and Graham reached. And while they don't seem to be entirely convinced by her, the rebels realize they have to move quickly as the tunnels they're in are starting to shake violently, as if something is waking up. And in a tavern kind of in Old Town, Ryan and Tempika meet up with the spy, who is a Loba, and the spy hints that the rebels are causing the earthquakes to try and destroy the temple. The spy also says that Yaz has been taken east to another section of mines along with the fleeing rebels. And then Tempika vows to tell Mikados which the Loba kind of flashes an unnerving smile to him. So you're kind of left at the end of that scene uncertain as to what the motivations are between these two spies and whether they're trying to help the temple or the rebels, and what side their loyalties are on.
Yeah. So Pry tells Yaz that many Loba died making the temple, which of course somewhat resembles the TARDIS. And he then finds out about the TARDIS's time travel capabilities, and is interested in kind of using it. So Yaz says that it will cause a paradox and asks how we can possibly hope to stop a religion. And Pry says that you can do this by killing a god. So back in the temple, rather wonderfully, a cloister bell is ringing. To what extent it sounds like the TARDIS cloister bell, I don't know.
Is it Graham that has that realization where he says, it's never good news when cloister bells are ringing?
Yeah. But does it ring during Jodie's time? I can't remember.
Maybe in an off-screen adventure.
Maybe in the Big Finish audios that will come down the line. So, yeah, Graham and the Doctor find Ryan amid a kind of like a mass of monks, and Mykados emerges and says that they know where the rebels are, and this time they'll be destroyed. And Graham demands that he and Ryan and the Doctor are taken over to the East Mines, but he's also quite aware that the God Act might be starting to wear a bit thin. When they actually get to the mines, the Temple Army sort of say that all of the exits are surrounded. Things are looking a bit grim. However, in the tunnels, Yaz and the rebels moving in a kind of a convoy, being led by an excavator, so kind of like a drill machine. And it turns out that the rebels are deliberately destroying the ground underneath the old town to bring down the temple, and they reckon that it will give the inhabitants of the town enough time to escape. Back in the East Mines, the priest army, of course, haven't found anyone, and Mykados reckons that they've been fed misinformation. And Graham is told by the Doctor to tell everybody that generations have corrupted the truth of what actually happened, and he sort of tells them to be kind, and as he's doing that, there's this kind of like Northern Lights effect all around them that's basically it's been caused by the sonic screwdriver lighting up bits of kind of like mine gases, and this is the final straw for Mykados, who denounces Graham as a charlatan and captures the Doctor. Meanwhile, Tempika runs off with Ryan just as Mykados' troops blow up the East Mine.
The scene where the Doctor was igniting the gases that were escaping from the mine, and they were making all those colors around Graham, that I don't know if you noticed or not, but in Series 11 especially, it feels like Chibnall's deliberately tried to add back in the educational remit for Doctor Who, where you get little bits of science or whatever included, and the explanation there with the different gases emitting different color lights. That's true. You can have a bonfire and you can throw in like copper filings into the bonfire and turn it green. You don't want to inhale the gases that emit from it, but it's very much a real thing that you can, it's the principle on which, fireworks are designed. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
And then as the Doctor's using the sonic screwdriver, there's a kind of a nice turn of phrase where the book says, the sonic screwdriver emitted an orange firefly of white light. I thought that was a nice way to describe the sonic.
Yeah.
So then Graham and the Doctor are taken under armed guard to the new town, where Mykados starts to interrogate them, and the Doctor decides, now's the time to tell him that it's actually her that's the Doctor and not Graham, and he does not take that news very well. The rebels have fled to an underground lake with Yaz, wondering if they had somehow caused the explosion that they had heard off in the distance by the East Mines, where they're suddenly joined by Ryan and Tempika, and it becomes apparent that Jaya, the daughter of Pry, she was the rebel spy that they had met, and she was disguised as a Loba, so she was wearing like a mask and hand mitts, I guess, which made me start thinking, is this the planet of the furries? when she had when she had that, I was just like, oh, okay. So you have your mascot costume ready to go. And it's revealed that Jaya is engaged to Tempika, the monk from the temple, and Jaya had secretly slipped Tempika a note saying where the rebels were really assembling, because apparently in previous meetings with Tempika, others from the temple had followed him, so they have like this back and forth publicly, but then, she slips him what the real message is. And then Jaya's mother, Mariah, explains that they had been planning to extract Tempika anyway, as it had been getting too risky for him on the inside with the religious order and with the other monks. I would like to say that the religion depicted in this book isn't quite as bad as the one we got in St. Anthony's Fire.
No.
It's bad, but
it's not grotesque.
Not as bad.
Yes. You don't see babies being eaten.
Yeah. Which, that's not a line that sums up the New Adventures. I don't know what is. In terms of how far away, some of the New Adventure stories are from depiction of, quote unquote, more mainstream or traditional Doctor Who. So then the earthquake plan is kind of explained again, and Tempika tells the rebels that the temple are insisting that people stay in Newtown as a test of their faith. And we learn Tempika's backstory. He was raised by the Brotherhood of monks, which seemed to be fine until Mykados became the high priest, probably about a decade earlier or so, and took a much more fundamentalist approach to the religion than they had previously. Not to say that the old version of the religion was any better, because you still had, segregation of women, and you had the Loba were still considered a servant class, or not fully human's the wrong word, but not fully sentient and equals.
Yeah, not full citizens by any stretch. Yeah,
right. So then Tempika had met Jaya when he had caught her stealing, but he was attracted to her by her beauty and that she was half Loba and half human. I would say she looks probably more human. I was picturing Mags from Greatest Show in the Galaxy a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad way to go. Yeah.
And then the Doctor and Mykados continue to argue back and forth. Mykados is saying that, the Doctor is criticizing their faith and it's blasphemy. And she says to not question is ridiculous, and he's had enough of her claims, and he sentences her to death for apostate. He sentences her to death for blasphemy. Yeah, apostasy. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I did love that scene where the Doctor is sort of saying, to not question is ridiculous. She does feel very doctory, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Mykados locks her in chains in a cell and says that she's got 12 hours to repent, and it takes Graham to another cell where Graham sort of says, yeah, no, we're time travellers, and all of that, and Mykados, funny enough, completely disbelieves this. And then more priests rock up, including Tempika, and they say that they're starting to wonder if the TARDIS crew might be divine. This could all be a test of their faith. And Mykados is enraged by this and decides to test the Doctor's immortality by throwing her into the gladiatorial arena against Tromos, who was the kind of like the super soldier Loba that had attacked Yaz earlier in the prison.
So yeah, there's going to be a big rally, and you learn that this arena's kind of been derelict for the last 10 or 15 years or so, and they haven't had any executions in it for a while, so that's kind of a big rallying cry for the fundamentalists that they get to break out the old arena again and see a public execution, which is kind of grim. So then Pry, the leader of the rebels, holds a rally in his underground base by the lake, where he goes into more detail about the plan, which will cause the temple to literally collapse upon itself. And he also intends to overthrow the mayor, who we've had a few scenes with, who's working in concert with Mykados at the temple, so you don't really have any sort of separation of religion from government in the society. And then Ryan feels that the rebels and the Brotherhood are just as fanatical as each other, so he's worried about the fate of everyone if the rebels are to succeed. And then Tempika runs in to tell Ryan and Yaz about the Doctor's upcoming battle in the arena.
So Graham's being invited to leave his cell to kind of witness the big old gladiatorial combat. And then suddenly and conveniently, another earthquake happens, showering priests in dust and bits of masonry. And he pleads with Mykados as Graham to get people to leave the town. But Mykados feels that if this is all the good doctor's will, then so be it. Meanwhile, back with the rebels, Pry is still feeling that humans can't be trusted. Until Ryan points out that, well, he's married once, so yeah, if it's good enough for Pry, surely. And after much deliberations, he decides that he's just about okay with an attempt to free the Doctor, as long as Yaz and Ryan are part of it and are risking their own lives.
And then you get a sequence where the rebels are going back into the sewers and they get underneath the old arena and they're able to plant smoke bombs in different strategic places. And meanwhile, as the Doctor's getting prepared to go into the arena, she's searched and her sonic screwdriver is confiscated. And she says, well, that's a third of my plans out the door. She doesn't have her sonic. And then she's kind of thrust into the arena, and then everyone's on their feet and the place is packed and everyone's awaiting the arrival of Tromos, the Lobo super soldier.
So in front of that braying crowd of spectators, the Doctor tries to reason with Tromos and tells him that if he kills her, he still won't be free. And Mykados tries to send like a jolt of pain through to Tromos, through this kind of pain collar that Tromos is wearing. But it suddenly seems to stop working. And no longer under kind of like pain control, Tromos jumps up into the VIP section to attack Mykados, who tries to use Graham as a human shield.
Yeah, the rebels somehow are able to emit a signal to block the pain collar, so Tromos isn't, like you said, he's not, at least temporarily, the collar's not working.
Yeah, the rebels have got some moderately advanced tech that they are able to kind of like hack into quite a few networks and stuff as we kind of go on. So they're smart cookies.
Yeah, you have this kind of weird amalgamation of like old technology from the human colonists, and then Lobo tech, which is different, and then you have the rebels. I think are more well versed in the old technology that's still around compared to like the folks in the temple. Then one of the monk guards is able, as Tromos is attacking the gallery that's kind of over the arena where Mykados and Graham are. Tromos gets wounded in the shoulder, and the smoke bombs all go off, and all the rebels pour into the arena through the sewer grates in the smog, and there's bullets flying everywhere, and innocent people are getting hit in the crowd, or maybe not so innocent, depending on your point of view. But their bystanders are definitely getting hit, and rebels are kind of fanning out. And Mariah, the wife of Pry, is wounded by gunfire, severely wounded by the gunfire, and Ryan is captured by an unpredictable Tromos, who flees with Ryan kind of over his shoulder. And then the Doctor grabs her sonic from where it was taken earlier, and she retreats with the rebels, and she seals one of the the manholes or the sewer grates behind her, and they find their way into the underground caves. But unfortunately, Mariah dies from her injuries, so you get a scene there where she's on her deathbed and saying goodbye to her daughter and her husband Pry.
Yeah, it's all quite poignant, but also you kind of felt that somebody was going to have to die in all of that big brouhaha and everything, because it was such a huge set piece that there has to be a consequence. So Mykados has returned with an injured Graham to the temple, and as further quakes are kind of shaking the building, he's convinced that this is the predicted Armageddon and heads for the chapel, leaving Graham to think about reading the holy book of the Brotherhood, which is this thing called the Book of Truths.
Which is conveniently in Mykados' office where he leaves Graham.
Yes.
He's like, I don't trust you, but I'm going to lock you in my office and I'm going to go to my temple to think about things. And so Graham's left alone with all of the archives.
Yeah, though I guess leaving him with like a holy book you might think that maybe he might start reading and go, oh wow, I've been converted. Yeah. So Ryan comes round to find himself in this abandoned shopping centre with Tromos, who explains that he used to be a Loba soldier, and so he's kind of strictly followed this honour code that we haven't really heard much of. After Ryan kind of like outlines how he's going to treat Tromos's wounds, Tromos remarks that Ryan is the first human ever to show him any kindness.
And then back underground, they hold like a quick funeral for Mariah, but then Pry is, very angered by his wife's death and heads off, leaves early with a bunch of explosives with the intention of taking down the temple once and for all. And then the Doctor and Yaz follow him, but then see another huge earthquake which buries the TARDIS, so they're unable to access it. And then in the chapel, Mykatos is praying to the good doctor for guidance. Another tremor happens and breaks the stained glass image of Graham, which showers Mykatos in glass splinters, which he takes as a sign.
So Mykatos now decides to start assembling all of the faithful in the temple, including women. And he's also handing out goblets of wine that he's been preparing. So, if you're getting a Jonestown vibe here, you're not far wrong. Yeah, so the Doctor learns of this and starts trying to think of something, in her words, toot sweet. And she says that she never knows why people think of it that way. And it's like, why are we having this section of a toot sweet? It does seem bizarre, because obviously it's French. It's a corruption of French, so I don't know whether it's some kind of like meta comment about how everything's been corrupted with history or something, but it's like, but also why doesn't the TARDIS translate it into, because toot sweet means kind of like right away in French. Yeah, I don't know. I just got hung up on that section, but it just seemed odd.
The TARDIS doesn't translate Allons-y either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So maybe it decides that French sounds cool. So, yes. Yeah, so she sends Yaz with a tracker after Pry and his digger, and Yaz quickly finds it, but she's then captured at gunpoint by Pry.
And this excavator machine, it's like something out of like a 80s cartoon or something. I think of like a train car almost, with a big corkscrew on the end of it.
Yeah.
Kind of those drill machines.
Yeah, it also has a bit of a Frontios vibe as well. Yeah. It's anyways, right. So, shall we find out what happens next?
So then in the temple, Mykatos tells everyone who's assembled that these are the last days of Lobos and they will soon ascend to Tordos. And they start passing out the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And one of the monks interrupts and throws off their hood, and it turns out to be the Doctor in disguise. And she knocks over the liquid as it's being passed out, and she said, "No one's going to be drinking any Kool-Aid today," which is great. And then Pry argues with Yaz, saying that if her time travel story that she told is true, that they just dip in and out of Lobos' history, and they don't really change anything for the better for the Loba, because the last 600 years have not been kind to Lobans at all, and there's been like mass organized roundups and killings of the native population. And he's getting the explosives ready, but he lets her go so that she can run clear, but she decides not to leave, and she says if he's going to detonate the explosives, then he's going to have to kill Yaz as well. And then at this point, the Doctor's voice from the temple, they're able to hear it because there's an eye that's approaching one of the drones. So the rebels are able to broadcast what's happening inside the temple to all of the other cities on the planet through tapping into the network of these drones and overriding them. Meanwhile, in Mykatos' study, Graham has done some further reading. So in addition to the Book of Truths, he breaks into a cabinet using a bust of his own face to open the lock. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And he finds more archives from prior to the Book of Truths being written. And all of these archives were supposed to have been destroyed in an inferno or some sort of blast. But yeah, they're all there for him to kind of look through.
Yeah, I must say I do enjoy Graham in this book, because he really is kind of being put through the ringer, and the fact that he's been treated as a god, and it's just he's just like a normal bloke, and he is the perfect character for this to happen to. I think really, it is quite sweet because I mean this isn't like as we said. I mean it's been done in Doctor Who before. I mean it's been done in Firefly. I mean I'm sure most franchises have done a variant on this at some point. However, having kind of like the everyman as being the person that's inspired it is a stroke of genius. Or even though he's not the one that inspired it, but the one that is remembered for it.
Yeah, and you see that like you said in other franchises. Star Trek has done it even so far back as the original series, where a crew member leaves behind a book on like 1920s gangster Chicago, and then they visit the planet a few years later, and it's it's all built on that society. And then the Orville did something similar with Kelly, their commander, in the season 1 finale, where an entire religion springs up. There you have a little bit of a twist in that it's not so much time travel as the planet comes in and out of existence, almost like Brigadoon, but every time the planet appears, like it goes through an anomaly and like several hundred years have passed, so you get that progression a different way. But yeah, you're right. It's a trope that's been used a lot in science fiction, but not so much in the modern series of Doctor Who, I would say.
No. So the Doctor, she's in the temple. She's trying to convince the congregation to hope for the future, hope for a new beginning, which sets Mykados off on one of his regular rants. And Graham manages to sneak into the temple, and he sort of reveals that he's found these secret history books. And the Doctor shouts to the people of Lobos to listen to her. And because of these eyes broadcasting a message across the town, certainly the people in the town are all listening. And she tells them that the documents contained a treaty that she brokered centuries ago that meant there would always be a human ruler alongside a Loba ruler. Also, she says that this great catastrophic plague was down to bacteria in the water. And as Mykados is continuing his bigoted rants about humans and Loba mixing, the Doctor shows that Jaya is half human and is perfectly fine, and also she's the love of a former monk. So Pry, deep in the tunnels underneath the temple, hears all this and starts getting a little tearful before glancing down at the explosives.
And the Doctor continues her explanation and says that the quakes aren't divinely inspired acts at all, but are actually being caused by the rebels. And at this point, Tromos, the super soldier, bursts into the temple, and despite the Doctor's talk about reconciliation, he's determined to tear Mykados limb from limb for all of his inhumane treatment over the years. The Doctor runs over to grab Mykados, and she raises her sonic screwdriver and summons the TARDIS remotely from under the temple where it's buried to materialize around them.
Which is a useful trick, yeah.
Kind of a cool climactic scene. And then the Doctor later talks about how the TARDIS is always supposed to have a remote control, but it hardly ever works. And it was only because she was directly above it. The sonic is linked to the TARDIS, and if you want to headcanon it, maybe it's from those crystals from Tim Shaw or whatever that enabled this to work.
Yeah.
But who knows? But so they're safe in the TARDIS, and then Tromos calms down a little bit, and the Doctor emerges from the TARDIS, which they all see as this temple that they've been worshipping for hundreds of years. And she convinces the congregation that she is, in fact, the inspiration for the good Doctor. And Mykados sneaks out of the TARDIS, and he's defeated, and he still has his chalice of wine on the temple table there, and so he drinks that and kills himself rather than admit that his religion was wrong or was founded on untrue principles. And so Pry and Yaz emerge from under the tunnels, and Pry says he's not going to detonate the explosives, and he's decided to put his faith in the Doctor.
So a little time passes, and so some of the shall we say more sane and pragmatic members of the kind of temple authority and various mayors from across Lobos meet, and the temple administrators vow to be open about any other secrets that they might be hiding. They all agree to be led by Jaya and Tempika, as they represent Loba and Temple alike. Whilst being recorded by the eyes, they sign a peace treaty for all the inhabitants of Lobos. Which is, it almost feels quite quaint now, doesn't it? Sort of like video recording being taken as evidence of something that actually happened. These days, not entirely sure. Anyway, so we then have like a little epilogue, sort of 6 centuries further on. We find a mother telling her Loba son a bedside story about the Doctor, and how sort of once she'd saved Lobos, she and her friends continued to journey across the stars, helping folk. Yeah, so I guess we did need some kind of epilogue just to basically say that this time it will stick. So there ends the Good Doctor. So what do you make of it?
I liked it for the most part. It kind of felt like a good Series 11 episode to me, and I think it would probably work pretty well, if it were to be adapted as a TV episode. I thought it was fun, but a little predictable in parts, maybe. I was a little annoyed that the TARDIS team got split up or kidnapped in turn. We're throughout the story, and it's like, oh, now it's the Doctor's turn. Oh, now it's Ryan's turn. And now it's Graham's turn. I know it's unusual, but I'd love if there were a story where the 4 of them don't split up and get to experience a story together kind of from beginning to end and actually interact with each other a little bit more. And I can see, there's a reason why you split them up and stuff, and that facilitates the storytelling. But, as a production company, you can't say, like, there's a TARDIS team, but if they aren't ever in the same scenes, you can't really further develop or build up that team dynamic. So I was kind of hoping for a few more scenes with the 4 of them, just because I enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you think of it?
Yeah, as I said earlier, every now and again I felt the book was going to suddenly start deteriorating, and then it would always manage to kind of like pull it back. And it was interesting what you said like early on, that you enjoyed the start, like the prologue with General Oryx and the tank. Because like for me, I didn't find that worked. Because like that. It did feel as if we were just kind of quickly just glossing over some stuff, and because I had a vague idea of the premise, I knew that we weren't likely to be spending a lot of time with these kind of characters towards the end of the TARDIS crew's first adventure on Lobos. So I was, it all seemed to be kind of like very sort of like broad strokes. However, I did greatly enjoy like the sense of mystery and seeing all of these kind of like weird corruptions of what had actually happened. I did think it was some very interesting ideas that it was like putting forward, and I like the message as well that blind faith is not a good idea. And alas, that message is as timely as ever. I did enjoy it. It's like the way that she captures the companions. In fact, I would say Yaz has more to do in this than she actually had in the TV series.
Yeah, I would agree. She's I thought it was well, like, even though they were split up, I did feel the story was well balanced. Like, we did get some good Ryan scenes, some good Yaz scenes, some good Graham scenes, and some good Doctor scenes, but all off on their own and not so much together.
Yeah, but there's not one companion that sort of like rings off in any way. They feel almost like better versions of what we see on TV, certainly in Yaz's case. I was just really impressed by that. I do hope that, these days you don't often have people from authors from the books going on to work on a TV show. But Juno Dawson's nailed it, as far as I'm concerned. I would, Chibnall's keeping his cards very close to his chest as to who's writing what episodes for this new series for next year or whenever it is. But I would love to see Juno Dawson doing a TV episode based on this.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. One thing I did love was kind of the kinetic energy and momentum driving the story. The narrative felt very modern in that sense, compared maybe to the pacing of some of the other Doctor Who novels we've read, but almost to its detriment in the end, because I thought the ending was a little abrupt. There wasn't a lot of resolution or reflection from the main characters about what they had learned. You get little glimpses of it throughout, but there wasn't that kind of I was hoping for, maybe a more deeper philosophical discussion about religion, maybe in the safety of the TARDIS, as they're kind of winding things down, connecting the dots. But that's very much left open to the reader to do. But I can see why she didn't do that too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's probably not a bad idea. Given that she's already had problems with the Alaskan public library system, you don't want to have a situation like with It's the Curse of Fenric, isn't it? Ian Briggs's book, in which the Doctor discusses Christianity and describes it as the 2,000-year-old lie, which is amazing that the Target novelisations published that line. And you can certainly say BBC Books would probably be like, yeah, we're not touching that with a barge pole. So I can understand, I see what you say, but I can understand why the book doesn't go that much further to it.
It's a fine line to walk, for sure.
Yeah.
So how would
how do I rate this?
How would you score this?
Yeah. I would say I'd say a 7. I'd say a 7. Yeah, it was enjoyable and it was sort of well written. Yeah, I think it's a high 7, but it's a 7. I would say. It was just because of those moments where I was starting to lose faith in the book a bit and just think, oh, are we suddenly going to start to tank? Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been reading a book and I've been a bit worried about where it was going. Sort of thinking, I've been enjoying this, but now I'm thinking we're going off the rails here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's good for a book to take a risk. Yeah, I'll stick with a 7. How about yourself?
I had also written down a 7 out of 10, so it's same for me, and I agree with you. It's the characterization of all the leads is really good. The world building is decent. I was kind of wondering whether she had gotten to preview the first couple episodes or not, and like you said, if it was just the first episode that she had seen, she did a great job of extrapolating from that the direction that the characters were going to be going. The part that I think let it down for me, and why I wouldn't, and I agree, it's probably a strong or a high 7. I just felt that some of it was a little predictable, and the whole kidnapping the TARDIS crew in turn, it felt like that padded out the book a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah.
I almost feel like this would work better as not so much a short story, but as like novella length or like a quick reads.
Yeah.
I just feel like there should have been a more meaty or juicy subplot that could have helped expand the book out a bit, and I would have appreciated some more TARDIS team interactions too. But overall, I enjoyed it and I had a lot of fun reading it.
Yeah. It also, I won't say it's necessarily aimed completely at adults, but it seems to be aimed a lot more to kind of like the intelligent teenager than maybe some of the other new series novels, I think, possibly. But yeah.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Cool. So,
well, shall we go on to listener feedback?
Yeah, let's.
All right. Well, opening up the mailbag, we have 2 emails this month. The first one is from listener Jenny, who I think we've heard from before. She thanks us for our recent Blood Harvest and Goth Opera 2-parter and says she's excited for us to cover a 13th Doctor book. She does ask, she thought that there were only 3 13th Doctor books available. She says, The Good Doctor, Molten Heart, and Combat Magics, and asks what we meant when I think last month I said there were 4. I guess I would say I'm counting The Secret of Vault 13 by David Solomons in that count. It's actually about the same length as the book we read for this month, but it's written at slightly a younger reading level and includes some illustrations to accompany the chapter titles. But I will say, and I totally count that book as an official, 13th Doctor novel, the audio version is performed by Sophie Aldred, and she does a great impersonation of Jodie Whittaker.
Cool.
There's going to be a sequel in the same illustrated format by the same author, published next February, called The Maze of Doom. It was originally going to be called The Maze of Death, but it was retitled. So now we have our own Seeds of Doom, Seeds of Death conundrum with this book. And apparently features a clockwork battery and a wild minotaur chase through London.
Okay.
So thank you, Jenny, for your kind email. And the second email we have is from Tom from the internet. And it's a more of a technical question. He wants to know what microphones we use for the podcast.
We use the same one.
We do. We didn't always use the same one, but we're on the same one. So we both use XLR USB mics. Specifically, I think it's the ATR 2100 from Audio Technica, and then we also both record locally to our hard drives and talk via Skype, and then mix the two audio files together later using Audacity.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we use.
Yeah, because we've found using exactly the same kit has kind of helped, particularly when I've had microphone trauma or something. So, yeah, hopefully the sound quality over the course of this year has improved. Yeah, thank you again, Matt, for all of your great advice on microphones and headphones and stuff. Certainly, I think it sounds better.
No problem, and I think you sound great, so it's great. And thanks, Tom, for the question. Chris, how about on Facebook?
On Facebook, we've had quite a few likes, which is always good. We've not had any kind of like new written reviews, but I think we've had another 5-star rating, which is good, because all of our ratings that I can see on UK iTunes are 5 stars, which is great. So, if you do find yourself on kind of like the iTunes, or podcasts as it now is, because Apple are getting rid of iTunes, but finding yourself on any podcast app, do please consider us giving us a rating, particularly if it's 5 stars, and sort of say nice things. It would be good.
It helps other listeners find us.
Yes, indeed it does. Yeah, as is being mentioned on other podcasts, which has happened in the most recent episode of Reality Bomb, which is cool.
Yeah, well, lovely.
Yes, that was a rather lovely surprise. Cool. All right.
I've got some Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Tweet away.
So on Twitter, Brooks, Cali Sonic on Twitter, writes to let us know they had no idea that Doctor Who Choosing Adventure style books continued for the new series, and that it's most welcome news. So yes, you can look for, I think Doctors 10, 11, and 12 all have Decide Your Destiny or Choose the Future books for that. And then Hannah says that while Doctor Who may not be on TV this year, there is no shortage of content out there, and there are hundreds of books out there waiting to be read. There's always new Who if you know where to look. I totally agree, and would add that there are thousands of hours of additional content if you throw in Big Finish too, which just celebrated their 20th anniversary with the Legacy of Time box set collection, which features the first ever meeting of River Song and Bernice Summerfield. So exciting stuff there. And then Sean Elliott writes in to say he really enjoyed Goth Opera, and Keith writes in to thank us for the fun Goth Opera podcast.
Cool.
Andrew McDonald writes in to say Goth Opera was the first of the Missing Adventures series and one of the best. Jordan Shorten writes in to let us know that they love this book, and it's such a great read and favorite among their Doctor Who novels. And then James, Fit Geek UK on Twitter, writes in to let us know that our review of Goth Opera coincided with the book's 25th anniversary, which was a bit of unplanned serendipity there. Because I certainly didn't plan it when I picked the book. But yeah, almost to the week we came out with this our review when the book was published.
Gosh,
that's pretty cool.
That makes me feel really old, because I was a teenager when I read that. Oh dear.
I remember growing up when the Star Trek 25th anniversary celebrations were happening and thinking how old and what a legacy that was.
Yes.
And now it's like, oh yeah, 25th anniversary, that's nothing. But
yeah. Are we at the stage where we learn what it is we're doing?
All right. So Chris, what are we going to be reading next month?
So, I wanted to do a TARDIS crew that we've not had before, and also a prolific author that we've not used or met. So, we are going to be experiencing Grave Matter by Justin Richards, featuring the Sixth Doctor and Perry.
Ooh.
Because we've seen the Sixth Doctor, but we've only seen him in a graphic novel.
Yeah, this will be our first book featuring the Sixth Doctor.
Indeed.
Because we haven't, you're right.
Yeah, and our first Justin Richards novel. Looks like it might possibly kind of go into the horror a little bit, and the cover is interesting. It doesn't seem to be very high res. Yeah, we'll go and experience that, and just we in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to be kind of moving into autumn or the fall. So maybe have a bit of scary times.
I thought you might have picked, is it Blue Box by Kate Orman?
Yeah, I was tempted.
Was that another Sixth Doctor?
Yeah, I was tempted. I did want to go for one of the big names that we haven't done yet. I'm conscious that we've not done Paul Leonard, we've not done Steve Lyons, we've not done Justin Richards. So that's what we're doing next month.
Exciting. Well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris, South London. Happy reading.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song, Doctor Who Theme, Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. You can support the show by leaving us a rating and review on iTunes. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
Right.
Did you see the picture that Sophie Isles tweeted
Yes.
from
Yes. Rather
with her in Eccleston?
rather wonderful. Yes. I thought that was lovely. That was really good.
That was.
Yeah.
How was Latitude?
It was good. I mean, it was frustrating a little bit. They've done quite a few changes to where the tents are, which because they usually have a quiet area, and because the rowdy area's campsite had been reduced in size, quite a few of the people that would normally be in the rowdy area rocked up in the quiet area and stuff. But yeah, it was good. We saw, amongst others that you might have heard of, like Nena Cherry, Stereophonics, Lana Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pianist called Ben Folds, an American guy from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
So I adore Ben Folds. Yeah, Parcels I think you'll probably enjoy if you like cut copy.
Mm-hmm.
The Lana Del Rey thing was weird because there were some people in the front. It was almost as if there was like a saint or a holy figure because they were just shrieking. And she stopped the concert at one point to wander down and just be amongst her people and just posing for selfies.
Oh.
It was odd. I've not seen anything like that in quite some time.
She's not well known for like live performances to the point where her appearance on Saturday Night Live is considered like one of the worst in
Yes.
the history of the show.
Yeah, I have to say she was very good. We'd seen her several years ago. Well, we'd walked past her whilst she was performing in a kind of like a side tent at another festival. Hadn't felt a great urge to kind of go in. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just interesting just seeing the effect that she had on people. It was more so than anybody else than we'd seen there. And we also, have you heard of a band called Underworld?
No, I haven't.
So they did one of the major songs from the Train Spotting soundtrack, Born Slippy. So if you've seen Train...
Oh, yeah, I have. I didn't realize they were still around when you said Underworld. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. I thought it was like a newer...
No.
Okay.
No, so they had what was described as a special closing set. So they weren't headliners on Saturday, but they were the last acts on the stage. So, which was an odd thing, but they were brilliant. Even though I suspect that a lot of the people sat around us had no idea who they were. But like most of the crowd were just waiting for that big song to be played. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, we're not entirely sure whether or not we'll go back next year. I think we'll have a very careful look at the lineup. There's usually quite a few things that we like. But anyways.
Yeah, I think we're at the point now, Chris, where you let me know what we're going to be reading next month. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 2nd, 6th, or 9th Doctor pick. But apart from that, I have absolutely no idea as to what you've got in store.
Yeah, it's one of those three. Yes. So, so I wanted to do a TARDIS crew that we haven't done before. Also wanted to do a prolific author that we haven't done before. So, and I wanted something that will hopefully be a little bit kind of light and frothy. So we are going to be going off and spending some time with the Second Doctor, Ben and Polly, and we're going to be taking part in The Murder Game by Steve Lyon, which was the second book in the BBC's Past Doctor Adventure series.
Very cool.
Yeah. So.
I'm pulling it off the shelf right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got like I was going to say it's got a street shark on the cover, but probably not.
No, it does seem to have Salamander on the cover rather than necessarily, because it looks more like Salamander than it does the Second Doctor. It does have a returning villain from one of his previous works or a returning character, or I don't know whether they're a villain or not, is Steve Lyons can sometimes be a little bit sort of grim. Sometimes it can be a little bit gory, but also other times it can be quite compelling, and his stuff is often quite interesting. This is one I have never read, so I'm intrigued.
I've not read it either, and it says it takes place between Power of the Daleks and the Highlanders, which makes sense given, just Ben and Polly and no Jamie. Read the two with his Grant Markham companion with the Sixth Doctor, and then I think I've also read Head Games.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Conundrum, too. But very cool. So, yeah, this will be the 5th Steve Lyons book I've read then.
And given he's written, I think he's written 11 Doctor Who books, and obviously some of them have been done by the previous version of the show, but yeah, I kind of figured, after 2.5 years, it's probably about time that we do one of this.
Oh, wait, old version of the show's already done this book.
Oh, has it? Are you sure? Oh, I thought,
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay, in which case...
Yeah, I just looked up the...
Okay, so next time for December, we are going to read a BBC New Doctor adventure, or gosh darn it, Sean, a BBC Past Doctor adventure, and we're going back to Steve Lyons. We are going to read The Murder Game, which is a Second Doctor book with Ben, Polly, and Jamie, and it's pretty light. It's a little bit more rich, I think, than Time of Your Life, Eric. You'll be glad to know. But it's just standard base Under Siege story. I'm just going to say that. It's no faction paradox, whatnot, blah, 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 blah. It's just a base Under Siege.
I've enjoyed Steve Lyons so
Yeah.
far. I like
And-
the Second Doctor novels. And the last one we did was the Second Doctor novel with the Roundheads with that exact same TARDIS crew.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even remember that. But
That's fine. Let's do Murder
and
Game. It'll
another-
be fun. It's Christmas time. We'll have a good time.
And another reason that I really want to read that one, I read it when it first came out, of course, is that it's set during a murder mystery party, which, of course, I love murder mystery parties.
I thought I'd seen it and it wasn't on that list. In which case, I have a backup. Shall we go for the backup?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I did do a last-minute change. So let me just... Because let's go for the thing I was originally going to go for. So let's do that again.